Hello, everybody. Welcome to The Political Vigilante. My name is Graham Elwood, and kind of a special treat here on the Patreon video chat. One of the things you get if you go to grahamelwood.com or patreon.com/grahamelwood is you can, for $25, you can get the video interview, video conversation, and I do these every month with many people, and I'm here with the natural progressive. Chris, thank you for joining us. And
thanks, Graham.
You then put this together with another supporter of the show, Dave, the independent outsider, and we're going to have a big conversation today. And so thank you for putting that together. Dave, how are you doing? Welcome back.
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
That's excellent, man. Good to see you.
Good to be seen.
Okay, so one of the things, so you and Chris have been kind of working together on a lot of different issues. And I got to say, this is one of the things I love about doing this show, Political Vigilante, is I've seen many of you start your own channels and cover your own topics and get involved in your own communities. And that's the thing that I think is so important. And one of the reasons I started this is I wanted to build a community of progressives, and I always say this: get involved on a local level. And you guys have done. You live in upstate New York, if I'm not mistaken. And
I live on Long Island.
You live in Long Island.
I live on,
yep. It's all upstate. I mean,
it's all
upstate, right? Isn't that? And Chris lives in Utah. So one of the things you guys wanted to touch on is, and people have asked me this question, and so it's good we're going to have this discussion, is how do you know there's all these new organizations and movements and everything popping up? How do you recognize a good one from a bad one, or sometimes it's a good organization, but obviously, look, the opposition, the corporate state, the deep state, whatever you want to call it, they're going to try to infiltrate a lot of these organizations. And everyone's always asking me all the time, like when we do the super chats and everything, Graham, how do I get in? What do I do? How do I know? And I always say, get involved and see how you see it on the ground in your community. This, the Green Party, the Movement for a People's Party, the Yellow Vests, and all this stuff. So why don't you guys go into that a little bit, because you've kind of have some firsthand knowledge and research about this.
Right. First, I will reiterate your statement in terms of reaching out, networking. I love to reach out. I love to network. I love to be behind the scenes and let people know about one another. My letting you know about Elizabeth Leah Voss, or letting Elizabeth Leah Voss and Susie know about you. The fact that you came on Unity for Jay is fantastic. I love that fact. I love getting people involved. But when you get involved, and this whole thing was set up simply because Christine and I reached out after Christine did a video about this one particular person, Jake Lang, yes, I got his name right, who did an interview with someone, his name was Marcus Conti, and she immediately said, I don't trust this guy. Jake Lang happened to be in New York City. So I said, okay, I'll do a little bit of research on Jake Lang and his New York City Yellow Vest movement. Just because it's the New York City Yellow Vest movement doesn't mean that I am criticizing every single Yellow Vest movement. It may have been his purpose to discredit other Yellow Vest movements. So I'm just focusing on talking about his movement for a second as an example of some of the red flags that I saw with something that I don't see as credible. There were a few things that I saw.
And before we get into that, I think you're bringing up a good point, and it's something that we need to, as progressives, really make a delineation between just the crazy blanket smears or misreporting that the corporate media is doing. The Yellow Vests, they're all whatever, violent, crazy, it's not that big of a deal, or how they're just sort of not showing how big of a deal it is in France, and they don't want to talk about how it's spreading in America. That's not the same thing as saying, I see some red flags about this particular person in this particular Yellow Vest organization, and maybe other people within the New York Yellow Vest organization are doing fine work, and they're there for noble reasons, but it's valid, and this is what we should do as independent progressives, is not just, we want to find that one person, that one cause that helps everything, but we have to be, you know, we got to be good detectives. That's why I call my show Political Vigilante, because the Batman, the Dark Knight, is the world's greatest detective, and he had no affiliation to any party or police department or anything like that. So that's what we're doing. So
exactly.
I want to preface what you're going to, the details you're going to go into with, we have to ask these questions of everything and everybody. People should ask these questions of me.
Right. They should ask the question and continually ask what's going on, and is this movement for me? Most of the movements that I see that are spot on are singular issue movements or very few issue movements, such as Unity for J, such as some of the movements that I'm working with. Deb Della Piana, Obstruct the Vote meeting, calling out politicians, trying to get money out of politics, or calling out the money in politics. Sarah Friels with DNC fraud. But one of the things that I noticed, and I don't know, can I screen share here?
Yeah, you should be able to do that.
Okay, so I have a screen share. I'm going to screen share part of I did it again. Jake Lang's Yellow Vest movement. And here is his page. He's saying what the world needs. First off, he's telling us what we need. That's one red flag right there. That's the first red flag. It's almost authoritarian from the start. The second thing is he has so many different broad goals that it's all over the place.
Well, yeah, 100% safe vaccines, non-GMO food, no fluoride in our water. Well, that, I mean, wait a minute now. What is it? The Yellow Vests is about labor. It's about workers getting.
It's almost like he's trying to be divisive here.
Correct.
And I think that's a huge point as far as movements go in general. You don't want to be divisive. You're trying to bring as many people together. And all of this seems very divisive. And it gets worse when you go into his 5-step plan.
Right. I don't want to get too much into it, but this is just the first set of red flags.
I'm sorry to interrupt, but I want to point this out to the viewers. The website is yellowvestmarch.com. See, this is how, and if this guy is either just, I don't know, maybe he's trying to jam his own personal views into this, or he's controlled opposition, like he's paid to divide. Either way, this is how slick they are. So you type in, I hear about this Yellow Vest thing. I want to get involved. And you do a web search for Yellow Vest, and then this site comes up, and you go, yeah. And maybe you don't know anything about it. And you go, I'm all for labor. I'm all for, well, I don't know about fluoride and vaccines. Oh, those Yellow Vesters are nuts. This is.
Right.
So, yeah. Discredits. The real one.
The real one that got me, and this is a hot topic with a lot of people, is 100% safe 5G internet. And then you get into, okay, what is safe 5G? Why is he bringing it up? It's a product. You have people on either side. It's a very divisive issue. What does that have to do with anything? What does that have to do with Yellow Vests?
Yeah, and this I find this language problematic. Slower mass migrations. Folks, what does that mean? That sounds like somebody went, hey, let's take a right-wing talking point and just kind of paint it with a liberal brush.
Yeah, but if you go into this, the regular Yellow Vest movement, they actually have that as one of their philosophies as well. They're kind of nationalists, which is the problem I've had with them.
Are you talking about the movement in France?
The France movement. That's the only thing I can see wrong with it. But other than that, the referendums are great. And on every other issue, they're referendum. But that's the one issue that they mention is slowing the migration. So I don't know.
Right. And a couple more points that I'll talk about this movement before I move on to a movement that I think could be it could be legitimate. So he's talking about secure and unbreachable Bill of Rights, which I agree with. First, second, and fourth. I might even put the fifth in there for just cause.
Is under attack.
Right. But he says... So
yeah, let's not go down that rabbit hole.
Right.
But.
Let's not go down the rabbit hole. But so we say second and unbreachable Bill of Rights. Okay, hold on. What about at the top? No one world government. So wait, what? Where? Well, huh? Okay, I don't know. It's all, as I said, it's all over the place, and it's talking about products, vaccines, foods, internet. Why?
And there's the 5 steps which want to ban all socialism, ban all taxes.
Right.
That's when it really goes crazy. I'm sorry, that's nuts.
And
anyway,
he's about ban. He's telling you what you need. Then you get into what he's really about, and I won't waste too much time on it. But go on Jake Lang NYC on his Instagram. You'll see him literally smoking a cigar next to a really expensive car, hanging out with chicks in bikinis. He talks to people about how to build your business. He's a social model management is his business. It's almost a pyramid scheme where he'll give you it's about building your Instagram account and building your social media.
He's a media marketer.
He's a media marketer. This was an afterthought.
To get hits or something, he's being paid because he's in that business, so he could be getting paid to do this. So anyway, the .com on this website is a serious red flag, because if it was a real movement, it'd be .org,
Right.
So that's something to look for.
he's a model. You see him in a picture with him modeling his yellow vest. Mm-hmm. It's crazy.
Yeah, like Superman.
Yeah,
his yellow vest.
And it actually says yellow vest instead of RIC, which is what referendum initiated by citizens is what yellow vest is about. It's about building a government through referendums. So this, to me, showed red flag after red flag.
Mm-hmm. Well, so you can take down the screen share because I think I've seen enough, quite honestly.
Right.
But it doesn't take long to figure that one out.
Okay, so I'm going to show you now. I went to Extinction Rebellion because Christine, she talked to me on Uphill Media, and she was like, look, I really think that Extinction Rebellion may be a legitimate movement. First off, when you go to a legitimate movement, how is this an issue that I want to explore? Climate change. And she's going to go more into climate change because it's really, really important to her. So Extinction Rebellion is practically a one-issue movement.
Not entirely one issue.
Well, not one issue, but it's an umbrella. It's focused. It's focused. So I'm going to screen share the Extinction Rebellion frequently asked questions, and it is a polar opposite of what I just showed you. So I'm going to...
You mean it doesn't go all the way from central banks to vaccines to the second...
Correct. Yeah. So here are the frequently asked questions. Are things really that bad? Who is behind Extinction Revolution? Where did the idea come from? Why do you think this could succeed? What else have you done? Is there a relationship between one movement and another movement? Are you grassroots? Who are your founders? And there's another question. It's just a series of questions. What I like about this is that Extinction Revolution is not telling you what to think.
Extinction Rebellion.
What did I say? Revolution? Yeah. Extinction Rebellion. I did it again. Extinction Rebellion is not telling you what to buy, what to think. They are giving you answers to questions you may have. And also, when they give you answers, they give you research to do. They give you links. They are detailed.
So one of the things they're clearly trying to do is to, when someone goes, what's Extinction Rebellion, you get information. So if you spend some time on this site, you're going to walk away going, oh, wow, this is information about the climate change. This is what they're talking about. And this is how they're going to go about doing it.
Right. And they have an events page where you go right on, you see where it is. Yesterday I went to Central Park, the southeast end of Central Park, the corner of 59th and 5th, and there was a relatively big crowd there. I do have a quick clip. Yep. I have a quick clip that I could share. I'm not going to, it's like a 5-second clip, but there was a good crowd there. They have visuals. I don't know if I have my frog here. Hold on. The golden toad. Did you see it?
It's an animal that recently became extinct. They have
visuals. They have visuals. They're about the theater. They're about drawing you in so that you ask the questions so that they can answer some factual questions. Now, what I do notice sometimes also about some of these movements, I did see some political groups inside of it, like anti-Trump guys and that kind of thing. A lot of times movements will bring other groups in just to get the numbers. So but overreaching or overall, Extinction Rebellion is an apolitical movement. And I like apolitical movements because they're not dividing you. Again, Unity for J is an apolitical movement. I see Cassandra Fairbanks speaking with you. We have a conservative and I would say obviously progressive or a lefty talking together, uniting on one issue. It can happen. It actually happens.
Well, Chris, I want to ask you this now. How did you come to find Extinction Rebellion and start to have this conversation with Dave?
I was researching the Yellow Vest after finding that information from Marcus, and that's kind of following the Yellow Vest movement in France anyway. But when I seen that video, I'm like, oh my gosh, what's really up with this? This can't be the actual movement. And after I did the video on Marcus's video, I had a whole bunch of people just yelling at me to stop criticizing the Yellow Vest. But I'm like, this is not the Yellow Vest movement. It's not. And I went to find links and stuff to find out, you know, what the differences were and to make sure that this really wasn't the Yellow Vest movement this guy was talking about. And I found out all that. But in the meantime, some stuff about Extinction Rebellion popped in. So I started looking into them and comparing the Yellow Vest movement with Extinction Rebellion. And I really like Yellow Vest movements. The only thing that concerned me about them was kind of the nationalists, the thing against immigrants, and their lack of focus on climate change, which should be the #1 issue. But other than that, the Extinction Rebellion goes into citizen assemblies, which we're going to be interviewing someone from them as soon as possible to find out more about what the citizen assembly is. But what I understand is it's about pulling average people off the street, kind of like a jury duty thing, to help solve the problems.
Now, how much is Extinction Rebellion? Because I know they had, like yesterday, there was one in LA, I guess, in New York. So they were kind of all over.
DC, Pittsburgh. Yeah.
So it's an international movement. It's an international.
It started in the UK. Their first, they call it Day 1 of Rebellion in the UK. They closed down like 6 bridges or something like that. And they've been nonstop in the UK. They're being pretty successful. And they have a decentralized organization. There's no one leader of it. And they split it has to be decentralized. They don't want any centralized governance of the movement.
Right.
And one more thing I really want to mention. Yes, they're into the theater. They're also about disrupting operations so that people have to listen. There were a lot of police there, and it was respectful and all of that. Now, they do have ways in which people can be arrested to get attention
Right.
to the movement. However, they will tell people, it's very organized. They will say, look, if you are not in a position to be arrested, we understand. We are doing this. We're doing this over here. You can either leave or you can be away from the action. And it's a very
like they'll deliberately say we're going to block this street or the entrance to the
Correct.
thing, and they know the cops are going to eventually come arrest them, and they do it in a they just sit there and very
Correct.
get
Generally, the cops will give you warning and say, okay, well, we're going to arrest anyone who stays. And that's when the people who don't want to be arrested just leave. And then the ones that do that want to bring attention to it will stay. And they were having a really hard time in the UK getting arrested. The cops wouldn't arrest them. So they kind of had to push the boundaries a little. They spray painted a building. They super glued their hands to a building. But they're like, no one is getting arrested. And if we don't get people arrested, no one's going to pay attention. So they kind of push getting arrested, but not the individual, but the individuals who do want to, they kind of push it. Only go as far as they have to go. They're nonviolent. It's in their platform that they are totally peaceful, nonviolent group that just practice civil disobedience.
Which I think is smart, because then if anybody, because we've seen this, I mean, look, the CIA and police departments have been doing this for decades of putting violent agitators within a peaceful movement to then say, oh, look, you know, look, they're violent. I mean, they've done this in Ferguson protests. They've I don't know why that stupid thing popped up, but I mean, look, in the '68 Democratic Convention in Chicago, when people were protesting, I mean, they had agitators out there going, let's cause problems with Chicago police. And the Chicago police have no problem night-sticking people, and still to this day. But so that's good that they have that in their platform, because then if anyone is being violent at an Extinction Rebellion event, they can say, as the organizers, we didn't condone that. We didn't.
Right. They can disassociate themselves a little bit.
Yeah, because nobody, when you have a public protest, and as Dave talked about, there was anti-Trump people or whatever, there's nothing to prevent some organization, you know, like whatever, the Women's March, a bunch of guys could just get together and whatever, go down there and say we're the whatever organization or the Klan or any crazy, and say, oh, we're here in favor of them.
But the cool part is the Yellow Vest people are joining the Extinction Rebellion, and they're putting the Extinction Rebellion insignia on their yellow vests. And I think that's the best thing that could possibly happen, is to get those two groups together. They're so similar. But the Extinction Rebellion is so climate focused, hyper focused, because that is our biggest emergency. We have a meteor coming straight at us right now, and there's a lot of people with their head in the sand ignoring the issues. So I after listening to, and this has happened over the last 2 months, there's been more and more reports coming out of how bad it is.
Oh, the
it is
so bad. Video on that.
Yeah, I watched that. Yeah, that's very good. But
Right.
Right now there's a heat wave in Australia, and it's killed bats, it's killed the wild horses. I mean, the bats are just dropping out of the trees, and they had to come up with a new color code for the temperatures they're having there, because they're unprecedented. And so wild horses are dying. There's mass graves of wild horses, and you know that is particularly hard on me. And then the bats, the fox bats, and what do they call it? I don't know if I got their name right, but bats are just falling out of the trees there. And we've lost, in the rainforest, 90% of the insects on the floor of the rainforest, and 80% in the canopy. And then the birds, like, you don't hear birds hardly in the rainforest because they don't have food. And so they're dying out. It's an extinction. We're seriously in the middle of an extinction. All we can do is slow it down. And that's if somebody does something massive, like get all of our military, instead of doing these wars, and put them with the scientists to get them to solve this and to help us. That's the only chance we have is declare a state of emergency in every city, town, country, and put all the military and scientists to work on stopping this meteor from hitting us. That I just went on a rant. I'm very sorry.
It's a very valuable thing that needs to be said, and you made a great analogy, which is, and I think this is part of the problem. If a meteor was coming to the people would be like, that's the thing that it is the lobster in the pot thing. People, they're not seeing it everywhere. And because the corporate media gets a lot of their ad revenue comes in from the fossil fuel lobby, they're going to report it as this like debatable issue where people, because that's the problem. People, there isn't this like the meteor's coming or everyone is flooded, or it's always like in this region and that region, and we see this and we see that. It's like, and it's.
But we're seeing it everywhere now. How come people can't open their eyes and see it? I have people on my channel going on there and still arguing with me about it. It's like the sea ice isn't melting and this isn't happening. And did you see this report or that report? I'm not looking at your stupid fake house reports. I'm sorry. I'm not looking at them. I've been looking at real scientists and listening to their lectures and their discussions between each other. And there was a TV show about them being in serious depression because of it. Like they don't have an easy time getting by day to day, knowing what they know, and everyone else is just ignoring them.
Everyone's ignoring it, and then part of the problem is like here in America, which could literally lead the way for the entire world. America could lead the rebellion, the Extinction Rebellion. America could lead it, like you say, by mobilizing its military and its resources. We're going to put all hands on deck. Everything that we do, research money, every law that is passed is about saving the environment and saving the human race.
Redirect every single resource, but we'll have to change. Not only that, we'll have to make so many changes in our society, how it operates. Getting rid of factory farming for one, and going more to permaculture in localities. But all these changes have to be made universally by everybody to even have a chance. I was telling my husband, who cares about saving for freaking retirement? We're not going to be around. Well, there's going to be no water. There's going to be fights. So all the places we grow, the majority of the food, are not going to be able to grow that food anymore. There's going to be massive crop failures. And in the near future, in a year or so, it's almost hopeless, but I'm not going to quit fighting and trying to open people's eyes to it.
And what we need is like, the problem is obviously like all these Democrats that are throwing their hat into the ring, and I'll include Bernie and Tulsi into that, is none of them are like #1 platform on my website, Green New Deal, like that's it, Green New Deal. And because if they understood what the Green New Deal and how to implement it, I mean, Jill Stein does obviously, but the Green Party doesn't have enough muscle and money to get it done.
We need the military to implement it. I mean, it has to become a national emergency. It has to become a state emergency, a city emergency, a global emergency.
Yeah, it is a global emergency. What I would like to see happen, I was watching the movie Vice. And I gotta watch that. I have to watch that.
It's
a good movie. And I saw how Dick Cheney talked to lawyers, one of them Scalia, that they were buddies with. They all worked together with Nixon.
Nixon passed the EPA. I mean,
right.
Very, very shrewdly, and he's evil, went, wow, I can circumvent the Constitution because legally, whatever the president declares, there's this loophole where it's like if a president does something because he's the president, it is then legal. And I was watching that going, man, would I love to see someone, if I was president, that's what I would do. I would use.
That was in the movie Frost Nixon, didn't you? Did you watch Frost Nixon? That was in that movie too.
Yeah. But what if we had a progressive president that went, I'm going to circumvent all this crap, but do it for a Green New Deal. I'm going to just say, the head of Monsanto, the head of you're a war criminal, you're gone.
That would be great. That would be
great. You know, you're killing the environment. So I'm going to circumvent it, and I'm going to just say this is happening, and that's it. And just which is what they did with the war in Iraq, which is what I mean. Obama did it. Now Trump's doing it. They just say, "Oh, what terrorism."
We could just use those powers for good instead of evil. Just use them for good. Help save the planet. Help save my kids. My kids are going to live through like enormous pain and suffering. My kids and maybe me, you know, it could happen. It's probably going to happen way faster than we think. It keeps accelerating and accelerating and accelerating. And like the Paris Agreement, when they made those rules about 1.5 degree goal, they were operating off of 9-year-old information. So they didn't have newer science to go off of. And that is like so off the mark. And we can't even follow that. So
one of the tactics that I'm doing, and I applaud you guys, is talking about it in these terms. And the media analogy is a great one. And also talking to like young people. It's why I'm heartened when we do the Progressive Comedy Tour, and every time the DSA is at one of our shows, it's all people like between the ages of 18 and 25. I mean, because they need to. It's like that young girl that spoke at the UN and said, "Hey, adults, you're murdering. You're gonna murder me and my friends." And
Greta Thunberg, she's a rock star, and she's actually signed on to this Extinction Rebellion, and so is Noam Chomsky, just to give it a little credibility there. So, some good names behind it.
It's awesome. I'm glad you guys are doing this. Any other points the two of you wanted to bring up here?
I have a couple points. I don't see any politician that is not drawn by money and keeping themselves in office. Those are their two goals. So I have taken myself out of the political arena. I tend to go towards apolitical movements, as I've said. Everybody has that choice to make. The second point is, when you see anything on paper, when you see the Democrats are pushing for a Green New Deal, please do your research, because that Green New Deal committee that they were calling for was a 15-person national committee to determine all green policy, which it goes against the Green Party values of decentralization. The third thing I will ask people, I know people want to get involved with groups. I know they want to get involved with people, but I have learned this lesson myself very recently, actually, and I'm not young by any means. When you want to change, first off, I would focus on one or two issues that you're really interested in. Obviously, I'm interested in labor, being a rep. I'm interested in whistleblowers, that kind of thing. Pick your movements. Try to stay focused. And I understand everybody's worried about the timing, and everything is ramped up, and we're under a time crunch. But please treat your activism as if it is a job. When you're talking to people, do not, I see it with myself. You try to help people. You get involved with them. They're telling you all their personal business. You don't fall into that trap. Please don't fall into that trap. I kind of fall into that trap where I try to help everybody. I do have friends that I'm closer with, and I'll talk to them more than other people, but you will get bogged down, and it will create drama that distracts from every single thing that you try to do. Okay, I understand you want to help, but remind yourself, what are we doing here? When people start arguing, are you with this guy or are you with that guy? Who do you support? Wait a minute, I support my cause. What are we doing here? So that's just a little bit of advice.
Going on to the horse race thing, when you're trying to fight something bigger than that bigger issue, is super divisive to start talking what candidate you want for president or
politics is primed for that. Politics is this one versus that one.
That way.
So I think a great way to handle that is to just say, I want a candidate that's for an actual real Green New Deal because there's a meteor coming to the earth.
Yeah, but we need to act before the election because we don't have enough time to wait for someone to get elected and do something. And I will keep beating that horse. Poor horse. I don't know.
I hate that you said that, Chris.
I know. I feel terrible saying that, but you know what I mean. I mean, that's a well-known term, but I don't mean that literally. I never beat my horses. But I will keep pounding that drum. That's better. I'll keep pounding that drum until people get it through their heads that, do what you need to do with voting. But right now we need to get in the streets, shut shit down. Just shut it down. Like, to get the attention to where it needs to be. Like I
agree. I think you're bringing up a great point, and we're all sort of saying a lot of the same things, but it needs to be said over and over. We were saying it on the live stream for Jimmy Dore yesterday. It's like, I don't know that we have time for this sort of incremental centrism that the Democratic Party and the Republican Party's nonsense. They want to build a wall and the tax breaks, and we don't have time. And I think
forget the freaking wall. That's not going to help anybody. I am so sick and tired of hearing about the damn wall. Yeah. I really am. Let's get over the wall and do something that's going to actually push for something that's going to actually help. Like, it would even help the mass migration if we can do something about it.
That's the key thing that I've learned in doing research, and I think that's the way for all of us activists here to couch this Green New Deal is make it talk about it from a labor standpoint and talk about it from if implemented correctly. A real Green New Deal, the Green Party's version, not the corporate Democrats' watered down version, but the real version actually helps the working class. It helps. It'll fix it and treat this like it's a real, like you said, it's a real crisis, and treat activism like a job. And that's how I think, because I'm meeting more and more people, and Dave Anthony said this when he was my guest when I sat in to guest host Aggressive Progressives. And somebody said it yesterday on Jimmy Dore's Chatterday, which is, hey, I was a Republican, and now I'm on board with socialism because I'm seeing how it helps the working class. That's why the DSA has opened up more chapters in Texas than anywhere else. And I think it's good, too, to do your due diligence to see the difference, and like we've talked about in this show, of this fake yellow vest guy, not saying all yellow vest movement is bullshit, but this one guy that's trying to, because people do that. It's like everyone's calling themselves a progressive now.
He's trying to co-opt the movement to better himself and his agenda.
Yeah, to get Instagram followers so he can run around in a yacht with models or whatever the fuck he wants to do. And so also, to kind of summate everything that we've discussed here for anybody watching, it sounds like Extinction Rebellion, for people who are out there like, how do I get involved? It sounds like a pretty good organization to get involved with.
They have a great website, and you can go right on the website and ask to be a volunteer for your area.
You can sign right in. And the fantastic part with them too is they won't give you candy-coated answers either. Follow real information and do your critical thinking. Graham, I love your shirt, by the way. WikiLeaks Unity for Jay.
I love that too. I also like his Wave Maker shirt. That's my favorite.
And shout out to all the Unity for Jay workers out there. Everyone. So everyone that's doing the fantastic work and the vigils and everything. I would say watch the people that are giving real information and do your critical thinking.
And tell Steph, Jimmy's wife, to put the Extinction Rebellion symbol on her yellow vest.
All right. And if anybody, people out there said, Graham, I want to send you a yellow vest. Well, my P.O. box is at grahamelwood.com, and so the Extinction Rebellion logo on the vest, and I'll wear it at some of my live shows, especially when we're doing the Progressive Comedy Tour. So everybody out there watching, I'm going to put a link to the Extinction Rebellion website in the show notes below, so you can all go to the website and do your due diligence. And it sounds like I'm going to go through that website myself, and I'm probably going to sign up for it. I just signed up to become a member of the DSA of Los Angeles. And if you want one thing to donate your time and effort and money for, I would say Extinction Rebellion, because I've said this before. If we fix everything else, sexism, racism, poverty, everything else, but don't fix the environment, it won't matter.
Right.
It won't matter. So thank you, Dave and Chris, and folks out there, please watch Natural Progressive on YouTube. And Dave, do you have the name of your show? Is it called Independent Outsider?
Independent Outsider, YouTube, now on Facebook as well. And I'm also on Twitter, so you could check me out as well. Thank you.
And I'm on Twitter, TN_the Natural Progressive. So.
And I guess if you have any tips about working or shipping with the post office, talk to Dave. And if you have any issue or any questions about raising horses, I would talk to Chris.
Don't beat your horse. And
don't beat your horse. Rule number one.
Check out your yellow vest for Jake Lang rhinestones and social model management logos on the yellow vest.
Yeah, make sure it's not some sort of Instagram model rave
right
yellow vest nonsense. Do your due diligence.
I have one more thing to add, though, before you close it out. So I've been encouraging people on my channel to start their own channels, because I think we need to make our voices bigger than the corporate media and bigger than the establishment type channels, and just build a network of people like that, and prop up anybody who is your follower that starts their own channel and has the same goals and agenda as you to fix the freaking planet, or your specific issue that you have, but prop up others, help them out like Graham has done for us, and I think it's really helpful to have that network that eventually all us little people will have as strong a voice as all the elites.
And this dopamine fix is great when you actually find people that you connect with and work with, like I did with Christine. It's not going to happen every time, but
it was Stevie and Manitalk, and
right.
I was on Kelly Lane on her program too, and then Uphill Media. I mean, we are all building this huge network, and
I call it truth locus. But please do your due diligence and do your research and do your critical thinking, and don't just shout talking points. I know it's a lot of work, and not everybody has the time to focus on little things too. Not everybody is going to be able to be arrested. Being criticized for being a keyboard warrior, sometimes people can't even get up. If that's what you can do, and you can
get the information out, and
you can get information out through Twitter on whatever issue you want to get out, be a Twitter warrior. Don't worry about what people think. Yeah. If that's all you can do, that's all you can do.
Mm-hmm. I think it's great, and everybody out there watching, as Chris said, start your own network. If that's not what works for you, then support the other ones, and like, subscribe, share these videos. That's a big thing I say, and there's so many ways to support what we're doing. Subscribe to these other channels, share these videos out. I found this out yesterday on Jimmy's show. So the notification button, if you go, you can, into the details of notification, you can do sometimes being notified or always notified. That's why many of you were like, hey, I didn't get notified, Graham, when you went live. Do that, and then share these videos on your social media and get involved. Every little bit helps. Whatever works for you in your life, get involved. If it's starting your own videos or joining an Extinction Rebellion, organizing in your community, whatever you can do. So thank you guys so much. And everybody out there watching, go to grahamelwood.com. Progressive Comedy Tour is coming. I'm going to be in New York. I'm going to see you in New York in June. Chris, I'm going to see you in Salt Lake City
in May 11th. I got my tickets.
Nice. Right on. And of course, April, we're going to be in Texas. March, we're going to be in Louisiana and Mississippi and the panhandle of Florida. So February, I'm in Chicago, and just January 30th, I'm doing Political Vigilante Live in Los Angeles. Jimmy Dore is my guest at the Sycamore Tavern. That place sells out quickly, so get your tickets. They're only $10. It's an amazing night. Check that out. Thank you guys so much. And what Chris is basically, and what Dave are saying, is the thing I've been saying, which is you're all political vigilantes. Everybody get involved one way or another so that we can drown out the lies of the corporate media and the oil lobby that doesn't care that the planet is going to be extinct. So thanks for watching, everybody. My name's Graham Elwood. Have a great day.